For years, people have had their chance to tell their side of the story. And now it's my turn. And now that everybody's on the record telling their side of the story, somebody needs to be able to connect all the dots with all that evidence that is the irrefutable statement of what actually transpired between me and the McMahons while I had my career in the WWF.
Welcome to the next century of wrestling news, commentary, and entertainment, presenting the truth to expose the lies and show you the full context of wrestling. Because there's two sides for many of these situations. Each Ultimate Truth Serum episode features content you won't hear anywhere else. So thank you for listening. The Summerslam holdup is a huge lie we've seen on the internet since many of the haters continue repeating it without context. But the problem is they leave out the most important parts, which is why this episode gives you the complete account of the entire situation. From the events leading up to it, to the written statements by Warrior and McMahon to reveal exactly what happened. And to make this even more authentic, we are using AI voice effects, so you can hear it straight from them, in their own words, with their voices. We begin with the state of wrestling that year, and how it causes some of the tension that exists, and how it plays a critical part in the mindset of both sides. By 1991, Warrior's gate, merchandise sales, and pay-per-view buy rates were even, or in some cases more than Hogan's. Yet he was paid half as much as Hogan for WrestleMania 7. Vince McMahon was elusive and would not give any straight answers or even try to resolve these things. So in July, 7 weeks before SummerSlam, Warrior wrote this note to Vince, outlining his concerns.
Vince, writing this is a different approach in expressing my feelings about the things we discussed the last 2 days under the pressure of TV. Every other avenue we tried, via phone, face-to-face, myself still with unanswered questions, always put off till a later date. Always with the same result, no result. Writing sometimes allows a person to express feelings or say things that don't come in conversations such as we have. Some of the things will once again become repetitive. So what I've heard in an essence at least 1 million times, I've tried to speak as a friend, but sometimes you don't hear. I've spoken as a professional, but the direction always gets changed. No, you never let me leave without a response, but the words you speak never have any definitives. My whole life for the last 5 years has had no room for anything but definitive. Los Angeles on Thursday, San Diego on Friday, San Francisco Saturday, Sacramento on Sunday, prime time on Monday. But you always have to have the best way of time. Time to say, stew things over, to work them your way. I have been from day one different from the others. I have sacrificed myself enough both in my personal life and physical well-being. The fairness you say you want everyone to have is unfair to me. I grew in 5 years to become what the Ultimate Warrior is today, always questioning, but nonetheless took him in the direction you wanted him to go at any particular time. Done what would and has taken others many more years. The points and suggestions you have made over the last 5 years were very well taken. Now I look at other individuals with less than 1/3 the creativity, desire, and hunger I had, and wonder how you can look and see them as the one. For you as a friend, I pray all the things you believe in rise to the surface and present themselves. Then there is the side that says, what the F, man? When I was thought of as the one, the topics of conversation were, treat the veterans with respect. The veterans you spite are the very ones who will F it up for you. No matter, I listened. I would go to the ring, push myself to the brink of a heart attack, and you would say, when you go to the corner, smile. A character who would show ups and downs, emotions and intensities, sensitivities and cold-heartedness when it was needed. Like a yo-yo, I obliged so I could be the one. Where the hell are this man's ups and downs? Total jugular vein popping, yelling at all times. Is this the total picture, character, or presentation that can be the one? I learned with you to show intensity at this level, but also to show just as much intensity with the look of my eyes, or with the whisper of my voice, or even better, extreme intensity in total silence. I did all you asked. Then the long-term plan changed. At first I was reluctant for what I believed were the right reasons, but once again I went with what I knew I could believe in. Vince has never effed me. I dealt with what you thought was best, no matter what the cost to me, no matter the countless number of sleepless nights there were to come, no matter the number of times I had to knock on your door with questions I should never have had. For the last 2.5 years, I should have never had the questions I did. To stand and make a videotaped apology for something I never did made me realize all we have is business. Once again, I went without sleep. If ever I do so again, it will be because I elect to, not because my wandering mind says to do so. In reaching this conclusion, I ask for these things. You say $500,000 for WrestleMania is unfair. Then I say the last 2.5 years of not being compensated equally when I meant as much or more to the company was total bullshit, and most definitely unfair. I have sacrificed more than $500,000, more than $1 million, even more in monies that should have been paid to me in receiving equal compensation as Hulk. I paid my damn dues long ago. I need not pay any more. I have given everything, and never once was there a knock on my effing door, whether to bullshit as a friend or help me through my times of need, or you trusting me to help you through yours. I ask for these things, Vince, and the answers must come, for the next event is upon you. It has been for me the 5 years, and for you to tell me you need to evaluate whether or not I'm cost-effective, and this takes time, is unfair. A show runs at a given time and date. I have always been there, never asked for time to see if I have the rest, food, or whatever it takes to make it. Now I ask the same of you. I want, 1, $550,000 release from the monies allotted me to purchase my home. This will suffice as my WrestleMania 7 payoff, but let it be noted it is not fair. I meant as much or more to that show as Hulk. I deserve to be paid the same. I know what Hulk will get. 2, 4 days off every other time off period, except pay-per-view only. 3, I want the same pay cut as Hulk gets on all pay-per-views, Saturday night's main events, prime time, house shows, and proof as such. The same pay cut applies to what Hulk has been paid with relationship to past events, WrestleMania 5, 6, 7, i.e., when Hulk was top draw. 4, I want numbers and proof of monies done on 1/900 Hulk, and likewise same pay cut. 5, same pay cut on all forms of merchandising. Because I have had to always knock on your door, words alone are not good enough. I understand Doug Sages is on vacation. Call him, take his days off away like you do to the boys and myself, and have it written. Every time I had to knock upon your door upon leaving, I have always apologized. I no longer feel I have any reason to apologize, therefore I will not. I have tried to speak as a friend, but maybe I don't have the qualities you required to seek me out as a friend. The videotaped apology was the icing on the cake. You see it as business, so whether I like it or not, I must do the same. Whatever your decision, I can and will live with it. Till then, I remain home with one who cares. Jim.
Years of performing the Ultimate Warrior character came with many physical costs, and Warrior is correct to say he meant as much to the company as Hogan. So while some may argue that point, Vince McMahon did not, as 3 days later, he replied to agree to increase Warrior's compensation.
Dear Jim, this letter is in response to your facsimile to me of July 10th, 1991. 1. You will be paid an aggregate amount of $550,000 for your participation in WrestleMania 7. 2. With the exception of special events only, you will receive 4 days off every other time off period. 3. Your pay rate on house shows will increase to 4 to 5% of the net, effective immediately, with the understanding that no other WWF athlete will be paid at a higher rate. Likewise, no other WWF athlete will be paid at a higher pay rate than you on pay-per-view events. 4. Effective immediately, your royalty rate on all forms of merchandise is to be increased. The specific amount will be determined in writing within 1 week. 5. Your compensation for the Warrior 900 hotline will be identical to that of the Hulk 900 hotline, Likewise, documentation for this will follow in writing within 1 week. I regret the turmoil you've put yourself through, and you're agonizing over what you feel is fair compensation. And even though we have a difference of opinion over some of these matters, I am resolved to work with you in the same honest and equitable way that I always have. Furthermore, I would like to express to you my deepest appreciation and admiration for you as a performer, as a member of the WWF family, as a man, and as my friend, Vince.
As the weeks went by, McMahon refused to release the monetary payments, and soon it became clear he had lied in his written response and he would not follow through with his end of the agreement. This may have been somewhat surprising in 1991, but we now know that Vince is the type of person who will lie to get what he wants, as he admitted in this 1998 interview about another wrestler.
There's an old adage in our business, and that is, get the match in the ring.
So when he says that you lied to him as he was heading into the ring,
He's right.
Warrior was now tired of Vince's games, and he felt all of his work to make the character a success was not appreciated by the company that presented itself as his family, then lied to him. So even though he had not been fully paid for the previous pay-per-view, he went to SummerSlam 91 and told McMahon to settle up for WrestleMania 7 or they would not be able to move forward with that night's performance. And that is what prompted Vince McMahon to say this.
Ultimate Warrior basically came to me and figuratively put a gun to my head and said, hey, I'm not going to go out and perform unless you pay me X number of dollars, and I forget how much it was.
Come on, Vince, you knew exactly how much it was. The $550,000 that you promised to pay in writing 7 weeks before SummerSlam. You know, the money you owed you had no intention of paying before Warrior made you keep your word. So you told the rest of the boys that he held you up, and that's why they turned on him. And then you said this.
So, in essence, as I recall, I agreed, much to my dismay. I agreed to what he wanted. By the way, I did live up to my word and paid him whatever it was I agreed to pay him, when obviously I didn't have to. You know, but nonetheless, that's me.
Yeah, that's you, Vince. How nice of you to pay someone something you put in writing, which was a legally binding contract. So you paid because if you didn't, Warrior would have sued you and then won another court battle against you. Then you would have had to pay him anyway, plus the court fees. Okay, with so much to process here, we want to briefly review some statements to give you a summary of both sides.
Vince, some of the things will once again become repetitive. So what? I've heard, in an essence, at least 1 million times.
So, in essence, as I recall, I agreed, much to my dismay. I agreed to what he wanted.
Your memory isn't too good, Vince, but over 30,000 documents, yes, 30,000, from the litigation discovery help tell the true story. How about even your deposition tapes, Vince? And Linda's, and Brucey Pritchard's, and a dozen or so others.
I am resolved to work with you in the same honest and equitable way that I always have.
The last 2.5 years of not being compensated equally when I meant as much or more to the company was total bullshit, and most definitely unfair.
I regret the turmoil you've put yourself through, and you're agonizing over what you feel is fair compensation.
I ask for these things, Vince, and the answers must come, for the next event is upon you. A show runs at a given time and date. I have always been there, never asked for time to see if I have the rest, food, or whatever it takes to make it. Now I ask the same of you.
My responsibility is to present what I have advertised.
Vince wants us to think there were no other options. However, with 7 weeks to plan and sit in the company, there was more than enough time to change the main event. Because remember, he had no problem switching the tag team main event in 1992, days before the Survivor Series. So 7 weeks was plenty of time. And this whole feel sorry for me routine was meant to hide his written lies and to earn support for what he did when the match was over.
So as soon as he came out of the ring, I could not wait to fire him. I mean, it gave me great pleasure to fire him and to let him know why I was doing it.
Vince tells two lies here. He did not fire Warrior, and he certainly did not tell him anything to his face, so neither of those happened. And instead, he sent a cowardly suspension note admitting he lied the whole time.
Had I not agreed to your terms, then Titan would have lost its public credibility and goodwill and have been gravely harmed with cable companies and WWF fans who paid pay-per-view fees for Summerslam. However, rather than suspend you for the duration of this contract term, September 23, 1992, a remedy which Titan has under paragraph 12 of the contract, I am temporarily suspending you. Please be advised that I do not consider the purported modifications of your contract dated July 13th and 22nd to be valid or binding. It is well established that contracts entered into under duress are voidable. You forced me to sign those modifications under duress and under the threat that you would not wrestle at previously scheduled events, including SummerSlam, unless I agreed to those modifications. Accordingly, I consider those purported contract modifications to be null and void and will not adhere to any of their terms. If you would like to discuss this matter further, please call my office. Otherwise, we will be in touch with you shortly before the end of the period to notify you of the date and place where you will next be scheduled to perform under the terms of the original contract. Very truly yours, Vincent McMahon.
Here's what Warrior says about the character name and who owned it.
You know, once again, they made the outrageous claim that they owned the character and nobody else could use it. And really, it was a bluff more than anything else. I mean, they had the money and the lawyers and stuff to keep pushing it through like they did eventually in our 5-year lawsuit, as long as somebody would stick it out. I mean, ultimately, you would find out, the court would, that, you know, no, they didn't own it. I owned it. I created it. Look, I've been defensive over the years when people start to say that Titan made the Ultimate Warrior. That's bullshit. People can't make what this thumbprint makes me as the person able to pull off the Ultimate Warrior. But it's a two-way street, and I've never denied that.
And here is the Warrior response to the SummerSlam 91 situation.
About holding you up for money, you got that wrong too. Of course, it's a fantasy you've created, so that makes it true in your twisted mind. There was an issue about a WrestleMania 7 payoff, but the strong-arming being done was by you and your conniving financial thug at the time, Doug Sages, not me. Instead of being straightforward with me about what the payoff was going to be, you kept dragging out, avoiding any discussion about it, while Sages unethically concocted a counterfeit loan to me, which I knew nothing about till much later, say, around SummerSlam time. How coincidental. When I called you on it, you duplicitously scribbled down and rushed me a letter praising me for my contributions to the company, my one-of-a-kind work ethic, and that you were proud to have me not just as a talent, but know me as a friend. And then, surprise, you pulled a 180 on me and courageously suspended me after the 91 SummerSlam match by handing me a tough, condescending letter. I got my bags, went to AZ, moved to NM, and left you ill with worry about where I was. Where's my Warrior? You boo-hooed for months. It is a flat-out Wizard of Oz fantasy that I ever held you or WWF up for money.
And that's it for this episode, so feel free to email us with questions or your thoughts, nextcenturywrestling@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe so you won't miss the next episode where Warrior takes on an outspoken critic in an epic must-hear response. See you then. Thank you so much for listening. We are always here to entertain you. We are Next Century Wrestling.